up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're live, coming to you from an undisclosed location somewhere in Northeast Ohio. I'm Josh McClay, a.k.a. Omally of Omally's Adventure. That's Megan Starrett, Ward Councilwoman, Ward 5, City of Massillon. And this is Omally Live. I want to thank everybody for joining. Whether you're watching live or in post, the number to contact the show is 330-809-1924. Or you can email us at omallysadventure@yahoo.com. How you doing, Megan?
Very good today. How are you?
Doing good. Continuing a series where I interview people that are either on council or running, and I'm glad you can make it. We'll just start at the top and work our way through it.
Okay, sounds good.
So give us a little bit about your background, where you grew up.
I've actually born and raised in Massillon, Western Stark County area. Grew up Western Stark County, Tuss Township, actually. Went to St. Barbara's grade school all the way through Massillon, Washington High School. Graduated from there in 2003. I did live in Columbus for about 4 years when I went to Capital University, but then chose to move back home to go to law school, and have lived in the city ever since.
So you work for the prosecutor's
I
office.
currently work for the Stark County Prosecutor's Office in the criminal division. I'm assistant prosecutor in the criminal division. So I handle felony cases, anything from felony 5 drug possessions all the way up to, your murders and things like that, your serious cases.
So I've always wanted to ask this. When somebody becomes an attorney or a lawyer, there's a difference, though, I believe.
No, attorney, lawyer, same thing. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What makes one decide to be defense or prosecution?
I that's a good question, because I've always been geared more towards government and prosecution side. Actually, when I was in law school, I was an intern at the Massillon Prosecutor's Office,
Okay.
and worked there all through law school as an intern with the municipal court in their prosecutor's office. And so I've just always felt that, I wanted to be on the side where I am working on the side of the law and punishing those that deserve the punishment and helping rehabilitate those that need rehabilitated. If you ask a defense attorney, most of them say that their goal and the reason they're on defense work is because they want to protect the rights of those individuals who may not be able to protect their own rights.
Gotcha.
So I think, we all do it because we're passionate about it. It's just,
Right.
Which side of the coin we feel the passion.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what made you get into the political side?
Actually, when I worked at Massillon Prosecutor's Office, like I said, I was an intern there all through law school, and Perry Sturgis was the law director at that point. And he was a big role model, guiding figure for me, and he actually told me, I think you'd be very good at this. I think you should look into this. And I had some government background from college, that I did some government administration classes and things like that. And when he found out that I lived in Ward 5, and when Perry found out that Donnie Peters was no longer going to run, he pushed me to say, you should look into this. I think you'd be very good at this. You clearly have a passion for the city. You've chose to move back, and I've always been kind of interested in what was going on with the city, and I hit the ground running and then went for it, and I've been on city council ever since.
What year did you come onto council?
2014. This will be finishing up my 3rd term, running for my 4th term.
Okay. But this time you're unopposed, I believe?
I am unopposed currently, yes.
So a couple topics that I discussed, let's start with the lighting. Or go back. We've got a lighting fee, stormwater, street levy. Is there a way that can be sort of simplified or compressed to where it's just a percentage and we don't have the individual for street light and stormwater? Is there a way to make just a tax that covers that and still generates that revenue?
That's an interesting concept. I don't know if there's a way we could do it all together. Nobody likes taxes.
Right.
Everybody, when you hear we're going to raise your taxes, people
cringe.
get upset.
Yeah.
People cringe. But the unfortunate part of life is
You
things
have
get
to.
more expensive as time
Right.
goes on. And for the longest time, the city never did raise any taxes, and that's where we got into ourselves into some major trouble. Keeping them separate, I see the benefit of being able to show people, well, this is how much you're paying into this part. For example, the street tax. This is what you're paying. This is a percentage you're paying that's going into the street repaving. And now you can see specifically where that money is going. It's an easier trail than just saying everything's combined and everything's going into the general fund.
Right.
This is a way to kind of keep the administration, the city officials, and city council um, a little more on it to say this is we can show you where your money's going.
Right.
We can show you why you're paying a street lighting fee. We can show you that we're paying the bills for the street lighting. We're trying to upgrade the street lighting to make it more energy efficient, which maybe will then bring the cost down in the long run.
Right.
We can say these are the streets that were paved with the tax that you paid this year. These are the streets that we're going to be paving next year with the taxes that you paid. Stormwater. This is how we're upgrading the stormwater. This is how we're keeping up with infrastructure. So keeping them separated, there's that benefit, but I see why people get confused, on the other hand, with the lack of consolidation.
Right.
But I think it does keep everybody on the ball and showing us, being able to show where your money's going when they're separate.
So the street tax comes to an end in what, 2 years?
I think we're in our third year, so in about second or third year, about 2 years, that street tax will have to be renewed.
Okay. When they renew it, is it going to have an actual term, or are they thinking about making it permanent?
I think it's always a good thing to have a term on it. I don't like the permanentness of it. I mean, I would love the permanentness of it, knowing that we would always be getting that money into the city. But at the same time, we have to have something to keep us moving forward. And I think if we are not showing the citizens that we are making the improvements that should be made and that we are moving forward and using the street tax appropriately, then we don't deserve to be collecting it. So in giving it term limits, we can reassess every 5 years and say, well, after 5 years, what have we accomplished? Have we accomplished enough? Are we using that money as we should be doing? Yes, okay, then we keep getting that money. No, well, then we may lose that money, and then we have to figure out another way to continue with our infrastructure and our street improvements. Do we need the money? Absolutely.
Right.
And I hope most citizens are seeing that we have gotten and taken significant strides in paving a significant amount of roads. It's expensive, and
Yes.
it's something that we neglected for a very, very long time.
Yes.
And that's why we're playing such a hard, long catch up with the streets. And everybody says, but why haven't you hit my street yet? Why haven't you hit my street yet? Well, every street needs paved, and it's because we neglected our infrastructure for so long.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about the resi. The resi is moved to the forefront
Absolutely.
once more. I've been to a few of the park board meetings. They're starting to make some movement. At one point, there was 3 options. There was like a 1, 2, and a 3. Do you think there should be a body of water put back in place that leaves ODNR out of the picture?
The way I look at it is, the reality of it is, no, we're never going to have a reservoir like we used to, I don't think. And the more I learn about it, and the more we have talked to the ODNR and the EPA and things like that, is that the push nowadays is to actually bring things back to their natural habitat. So less of the dams, less of the bodies of water. I think as long as the property is maintained, looks well, is brought back up to, say, the lower part of the reservoir looks very nice, and I think we need to just make sure the upper part is just as well maintained. I don't think we have to have a body of water, because people don't realize that it's expensive to maintain that. If we have some type of body of water, we have to make sure that we dredge it, we keep it maintained and clean. It attracts more geese.
Yes.
That is always a major complaint for people at the reservoir.
Right.
So I don't know what the full picture of the reservoir is going to be, but I think a stream or something along those lines that has a more natural habitat to it, as long as people can enjoy it. And it doesn't, I know it doesn't look the best right now, but there's been a lot that we have to do to clean it up before we can actually move forward.
Um, the hospital is another one. Um, the right now they're saying that the VA is looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But looking back, obviously hindsight's 2020. Instead of Paramount, if you could pick one of the other options, is there another, like, was there a good second best where you thought, man, maybe we should have went with that one?
I would say there was never anything that I felt was a feasible plan or a plan that didn't put a lot of the risk on the city.
Right.
Affinity was leaving one way or the other.
Right.
And we were trying to do our best to see if we could save and salvage something.
Right.
There was nobody that had a truly laid out, sketched out plan that really looked that was sustainable. Paramount at the time did.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously, the more we did our research, the more there was an issue there.
Sure.
So that's why that fell through.
Mm-hmm.
Altman obviously had their plan, but it still wasn't something that was taking over the hospital specifically.
Mm-hmm.
There was never really that major option there.
As far as the VA, she said that they're looking. Are they actually looking at the main building, or are they looking at the building on the backside that was the? I think it was occupational health for a while.
I think they have been through everything that we own currently. I'm not sure what they're looking at specifically. We don't have any major details right now. I think the VA is trying to figure out what is going to work best for them. I would love to welcome the VA into the building. As we all know, the emergency department and the cath lab and things like that are very new, like 6 years old or 7 years old.
Sure.
So there's a significant amount of that hospital that is brand new that can be used. The problem is it's such a large building, and that's some of the things we ran into with multiple people that looked into it. So
Right.
I don't know what the plan is, if it's going to be utilizing the whole building or just part of the building. I think this, from what I've gathered, it's going to be at least a decently sized operation, not just a small clinic.
Okay.
But like I said, I mean, there's a lot of things that need to be worked out. We're working with the federal government here, so
Yeah, they don't work fast.
no, we don't. The local governments don't work fast. The federal governments work even slower. So
Sure.
I mean, it is definitely something I think we need to keep pushing and keep looking into and working out the kinks, and hopefully it works out. But if it doesn't, at some point here soon, we're going to have to be making some hard decisions with the hospital.
Right. Let's. Part of that got cut off. Bringing business to Massillon. What's in the near future? Is there any specific plan that that you see or would push for as far as bringing new business into Massillon?
I think in general, we just need to be conducive to and open to bringing business to Massillon. I think we have a lot of wonderful area. Obviously, we're 21, 30. We're in that area. We see a lot of expansion in Stark County in general. We just need to be open and willing to help wherever we can. If it's tax incentives, you see City Council doing a lot of the grants and things for small businesses, and then we see the tax incentives for the larger businesses. The Massillon Marketplace TIF, for example, and you see the expansion down by Menards and Aldi's and the brand new Aldi's that just opened today. I was just at the Altman Massillon ER opening today, and they added another, I believe, 40 jobs just there. Just 40 new jobs. So, we have to continue to be open to new businesses, and I see a lot of citizens in Massillon saying, well, the administration needs to do more. We need to really push for further for new businesses. But at the same time, then when we get some things in, we see some citizens pushing back saying, well, I don't want it in my backyard.
Right.
For example, the Rover Pipeline, that was in Ward 5, a lot of that.
Sure.
And that did bring some decent economic growth to the city of Massillon, even though it was a one-time project. But then we had a significant amount of citizens complaining about the traffic and the semis and the things like that. So we need the support from the citizens as well. For example, Progressive over here on Wales, I know wants to buy the church,
Sure.
and we've already had some major pushback from the citizens that live
Well,
near that.
what's the complaint? I mean, right around the bend is the same
I
thing.
think there's some major concerns as to how will it disturb their properties? Will there be a lot of extra noise, extra lighting? Will it lower home values because it's going to be in their backyards? I think we have to find a happy medium.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be one that tramples on business expansion.
Right.
If it's a situation where we can find a medium where there's a buffer zone and Progressive is willing to work with the citizens and find that happy medium, then we need to be supporting that. You hear a lot of the not in my backyard, and then you hear at the same time, but we need that economic growth. So we can't stifle the economic growth because people don't want to see it in their own backyard. Do it somewhere else.
Sure.
And I've ran into that a lot. We have a lot of issues, I think, sometimes with they don't like the change. People don't like the change.
No, most people don't. I'm gonna say, past age 40, people don't really
Well,
care
and,
for it.
maybe it's because I'm not there yet, but
Right.
I push for the change. I like the
Right.
change. This is how we grow. This is how we sustain.
Well, at some point,
sustain the city.
it has to happen. I mean, Kmart didn't change their business model, and now they go. And I think myself personally, that's one of the reason a lot of businesses fail is they don't shift gears with the time.
Absolutely.
I think Sears over in Belton Village.
They're closing as
right.
well. I just heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't change their business models over the time, and it does hurt them. And as a city, we have to act a little bit like a business sometimes, and
Sure.
we need to be changing and growing over time.
Absolutely.
You can't say this is the way it always was. It goes back, same with the reservoir. We hear a lot of people saying, well, this is how it's always been, so this is what we need to go back to.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality of it is, it would be so expensive, and it just seems like there's so much better things that can be done within the city
Mm-hmm.
with the funds than spending $5 million or more and putting ourselves back under ODNR and the EPA just to make the reservoir what it used to be.
Right.
When there's probably a lot of better options that we can make it, beautify it, make it something that everybody can still enjoy,
Right.
and make new memories and make new, this is how it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Maintaining downtown infrastructure. I'm gonna sort of
Okay.
put that in with the streetscape.
Absolutely.
The downtown infrastructure. When I had Paul on, it needed attention. It was
Absolutely.
100-year-old infrastructure. There's no doubt in my mind that when it's done, streetscape is going to look fantastic. To me, that was never an issue. I'm sort of biased because my day job says that I have to maintain it. Is there a specific plan in place to maintain it after it's done?
I think we need to maintain it just like we've been attempting to put in place plans to maintain the city across the board. Like I said earlier, we neglected a significant amount of our infrastructure for years.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've been paying attention, we have really tried to put plans in place on maintaining infrastructure now. Whether it's police vehicles, fire vehicles, we realize, you can't just buy vehicles and let them and use them for 10 years straight and then think you're going to buy a whole new fleet. We should be replacing these vehicles,
Right.
every couple of years to maintain. It's less expensive if you maintain rather than try to fix when problems occur. So I think at this point we just need to stay on top of it and actually make sure we're maintaining everything. And that's where, I think some of the taxes that we've brought into place in the last 5 or 10 years will help with that, because now we have the funds, we have the carryover, we can maintain,
Sure.
we have the fallback when something major happens that we can repair it quickly rather than put a band-aid on it and then hope that it lasts for the next 5 or 10 years. The streetscape is, I think, a very good project for the city, for downtown. Like I said, I'm kind of a champion for let's move forward and let's change things and let's keep going. We need to attract younger people to the city and families downtown, and
Yeah.
when it looks nice and the businesses are thriving, that brings families downtown, and that helps everybody.
Right. Would you consider Adding people to the road department. That's another question I get.
Yeah. Okay.
Sort of a secondary question to the downtown infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I say that is because when I got brought on in '96, we had 21 people in the street department. We're down to 10, and we've almost doubled in size. That and to go back to 1995, '96 numbers, that's fantasy land. I get that. That's way out of the realm. But adding a few more bodies, I think, would be almost advantageous at this point.
I think that would probably be something we should be considering because, especially with all the road paving that we're doing now, and we have the road levy tax that we can pave more and more roads. We're trying to fix these catch basins and stay up on those. That's another issue that, we just never fixed them.
Right.
And if we want to keep the maintenance up, we do need more of the bodies. You guys can only do so much in the road department, so
Right.
you're only so many people. And if we have more able-bodied people that can run out and fix the small pothole before it becomes the pothole the size of a car,
Right.
then
Right.
we are maintaining rather than chasing our tails and trying to fix things when they get so bad that now it's costing us 3-4 times the amount of money. So yeah, I think that's something that we should be looking into. We've upped our police force. We've upped our fire department. There are certain departments that we do need to probably look at adding more personnel. We had a lot of cuts back in 2010 through 2012 due to the budget and the concerns. But as we've seen, with our carryover, we've been trying to really bolster the city back up and make sure that we're taking care of everything across the board. And if we want to maintain our infrastructure and if we want to keep things looking nice that we're fixing, we do need the people to help.
You've been on council how many years now? Since
6 years.
6 years. Just in a 5 to 10 year window, where do you see Massillon down the road? Where would you like to see it?
I'd like to see it continuing to grow and change, and I'd like to see that we attract more families and young people. I think Paul's one of the major ones that always says we're an aging population. The city of Massillon's an aging population. And, I don't necessarily always agree with that. I think, we're doing a lot, especially with the downtown area, to attract the younger folks and the families. I chose to come back here and raise my family here because I love this place, and there's a lot of people that feel that way, but there's also a lot of friends of mine and things that don't feel that way. And I think that's something we need to continue to update our infrastructure, update our facilities, bring businesses into the downtown area, bring businesses into the city in general, so families want to move here and have that opportunity to work here, live here, and then entertain themselves here as well, instead of going to Canton or Jackson or something like that. So I think we should really continue to push to bring the businesses into the city of Massillon, upgrade the city of Massillon, and make it better for families.
So how long do you see yourself being part of council?
I don't really know.
You've never thought, at some point I'm going to do it, and then when this is accomplished, then I'll move to something else. You've never.
I mean, at this point, I still feel that there's quite a bit that I can help with and continue to accomplish on city council. I think it comes to a point, if it comes to a point where I say, I've had enough, I've done everything I can, and I don't feel as passionate about it as I do now, that's when I need to say, okay, I'm done.
It's time.
Yeah. But at this point, I still very much enjoy it. I love to help the city out. I love to, brainstorm and try to figure out what's the best way to do things. I really enjoy that part of doing things because I do care a lot about the city and its future. And at this point, I don't foresee myself leaving unless,
right,
voters choose otherwise at this point. So,
well, that's all I have. The floor is yours. If you have anything you want to put out there to the people, let them know. Before I forget, streetscape. Is it going to be done by the 31st?
We've been promised it's going to be done by the 31st. I drove past there on my way here today at about 5 o'clock, and there were still people out there working. I asked about it Monday night at City Council, and the mayor said it's going to be done, and we are going to be having the Mass and McKinley Parade through Lincoln Way. I haven't heard anything other to refute that at this point yet. The weather's been pretty decent, so
Yeah.
it looks like they're working pretty.
That's a gift too. I mean,
Yes, it looks like they're working pretty hard to get it finished, and I think it would be. It'll look great when it's done, and I think that would be a perfect way to kick off the opening of the streetscapes is to have the Mass and McKinley Parade go through there. So
absolutely.
looks like we were hoping to have it done a little sooner, but it looks like we're still going to have it done by the end of October, and that's pretty good.
I think so, yeah. If you don't have anything else?
No, just thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Anytime, if you have something that you want to put out to Ward 5, you let me know. We can set it up and make it happen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Alrighty. Until next time, stay sharp, keep a tight shot, group, and rock on.